Good morning. My name is Tucker. I am one of the tour guides here at Kaas, and I'm going to be kind of the host for this event. For those of you who haven't been with us for our last series on daily management system. And what I do here is I'm in the office of the general manager, and I kind of help optimize the system. I'm also leading one of our production teams, the frame department over in the factory next door. So I'm going to be playing the role of host today. Our teacher is going to be Jeff. Jeff, are you on? There's so many people I can't even necessarily. There you are.
Yes, sir.
Hi. You are a Zoom user, but that works. So yeah, that's Jeff. He's going to be providing a lot of the content today. And then we have with us one of our other colleagues, Chris Osborne, also known as Oz. He's our experience designer. His job is to observe and to give us feedback so we don't suck and we can improve. Well, we're not going to suck, but we help us improve. That's the main thing. And then we also have one of our friends and colleagues who's a consultant and coach who's helped us immensely over the last 2 or 3 years. His name is Mark Rosenthal. He's a blogger and a speaker, and he knows improvement systems a ton. And so, yeah, he'll be kind of the expert witness that'll help us for this series, especially with kata. He always reminds us he's not just a kata person. So, yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Jeff, can you start, please, for us, if we can? Hold on, just mute everyone there. If you could start with kind of connecting improvement systems into our last series, daily management system. Some people weren't with us, so maybe kind of touch a little bit into that, but also connect this into our current system or our series on improvement systems and problem solving.
Yeah, for sure. Be happy to. It's a little distracting to see some faces I haven't seen for a while. So for those of you who haven't seen for a while, I miss seeing you all. So, and for the new faces, welcome. I think I'll start by just saying, hey, Mark Rosenthal, we're so thankful to have him be part of this series that we're doing. Whenever we travel around the world, especially in Europe, it's very normal for us to be speaking at a hospital and somebody come to me and say, do you know Mark Rosenthal? He helped us get from A to B or C to D. So he's well respected in the community of people who actually know Toyota production system thinking. So as you think about questions to ask you, I couldn't think of anybody better to have with us to do Q&A from a Toyota perspective. And he's seen a lot. And so Mark, thanks for joining us. And so for those of us who don't know us, there's a real, very, very high level. We have a manufacturing company in the Pacific Northwest. We technically build airplane parts for things like Air Force, I can't say that word, for airplanes for presidents, for commercial aircraft and some other cool things. And then we build furniture for homes and for commercial applications. But our main gig, what we really are passionate about is using the work that we do to grow people. And that would be the people that technically call themselves employees or colleagues here, but also many of you. So those of you who I've spent time with over the years and we've spent time together, you've grown me, and that's exactly what we want this company to be all about. So when we decided to do some of this live work and try to get it out into the community, we're also recording this so that people can just get as much value from us as possible. So please do ask questions along the way. So the background I think is probably sufficient. Know that we're high mix, low volume, and we have a lot of things going through the shop, and maybe we can, if you have questions about that, we could take that offline. So for today, we are talking about improvement systems or problem solving systems. Our last series we did was on daily management systems. So if you are interested in that, that was a combination of strategy, plus the huddle structure that we have, plus the visual management system, and also the leader standard work. So if you're interested in that, it's out there on YouTube somewhere. I'm sure Tucker can post a link. And so today we'll be talking about improvement systems. And so before we even get to improvement systems, we want to start first by talking about systems in general. And we'll post a link in the feed to give you access to a thinker that we think is really useful. His name is Russell Ackoff. He's not alive anymore, but he did some really great work when he was alive about systems thinking. So in the TED Talk in particular, it's not really an actual TED Talk, but the video link, it'll cost you 12 minutes of your life, and I promise you'll get that 12 minutes back in about 2 weeks. I would encourage you to listen to it several times. But the really high level, the talk he's giving is, why do continuous improvement efforts always fail? And so he's basically talking to probably people who like continuous improvement and telling them why it always fails. And his main reason is because we tend to think about the parts of a system rather than the overall system. So when we think about a system, we think it's an interconnected series of things that if you remove any part of it, it doesn't work. And that part that you remove is not useful either. And so if you think about the human body, it is a system. If you remove the heart, the body doesn't work so good, and the heart doesn't work so good. In the company that we operate, we have a manifesto, meaning we've declared publicly, with a lot of help from Rochelle, who's online, this is who we want to be. We want to be all about growing people. And then we've also declared, hey, within our system, there's 3 things we really care about. One of those is knowing and showing the truth all the time. That's built into everything that we do. The second one is best for our best, meaning we want to give our best knowledge and capabilities and time to people like you who've shown up and blessed us, and customers the same, families as well. And then the last one is we want to improve every day. So we'll talk about improvement after a breakout session, but right now, I think Tucker's going to put you all into a breakout session so you guys can meet each other, have a little bit of fun, and I'll see you again soon.
And so really cool. Mark apparently met Russell Ackoff. Really cool. A little factoid there. And I posted a video there if anyone wants to watch that later, obviously not now. But I'm going to go ahead and post the prompt here in the chat and then send you to a breakout room. So I'm going to put you in groups of about 5 or 6, get to know your cohort, spend about 30 seconds introducing yourself, your organization, and one phrase you use to describe a good system. Before talking about a specific one of DMS or improvement system or whatever, like let's just talk about systems in general. And then spend about 6 minutes kind of having an open discussion around the systems, and about 10 minutes or maybe a little bit less, I'll call everyone back. So I'm gonna create the rooms and open the rooms and see you guys in about 10. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's an abrupt pullback. I recognize that, which is a good thing because that means you guys are actually talking. So we achieved our goal. Welcome back. We're gonna move on a little bit, but before we do that, if you could just in the chat just type out kind of what you guys talked about in terms of like any phrases that describes a system, and I'll kind of read out a few of those. That'd be helpful to kind of get some insight into those conversations. I couldn't be in 13 places at once. So Hannah put in there simple, efficient, clear. A couple votes for simple. I love that. Yeah, I agree. They need to be simple. Relational. Ooh, that's a nice one, Chuck. I like that. Transparent, honest, intuitive. That's helpful. Consistently achieve good. I like that one too, Ethan. Nice. And then I'll read one more. Human, David. I'm not surprised that that's something that you'd say. That's awesome. Cool. So Jeff, you're up next. So why even improve? Why does this all matter? Take it away.
Yeah. So as we thought through this, I'm like, well, do we even need to improve? Like, it seems like it has to be said at any corporate levels. Oh, we have an improvement system, but I'm not sure that people actually believe that. So we thought, maybe we should at least cover a little bit of the thinking that we have around improvement and why improve. And also to even start with, well, what actually is improvement? So, and in our view, and this is, when I say our, it's maybe 2 people agree with me so that it becomes our, my view is that work when it's done well should feel like hobby. And when we start asking our guests, and we've, I think, had about 40,000 people in real life tour us, when we talk to them about their hobby, it's almost always just a massive blessing. It delivers joy to them, and they do it for their own reasons. And when we ask them the real basic question, does somebody in the world get paid to do your hobby? The answer is yes. And we haven't really found anybody that can't think of somebody getting paid to do their hobby. So when we think about it as a worldview, one way of looking at maybe just asking and prompting and surveying people is work when it's done for some different reason than normal work feels good. And then we start asking people about, well, how does work feel? And as we survey the guests, we've heard them say things like anxiety, I feel like a slave, I feel like I'm suffering, I'm suffocating. A lot of these different words started coming with work. And along the way, we started to realize that since Toya had defined the 7 wastes, we started seeing a connection between these horrible words and the 7 wastes. So my worldview, my own personal worldview, is that work is and should be good. Creating value should be good. And it should be good not just for the shareholder, but work should be good for the customer, for the employee, for the employee's families, and for society in general. And what I can easily say today is if I was a gardener, the corn and the squash and the other things, the vegetables in the garden, that's what we're trying to grow. And the 7 wastes that Toyota was able to identify for us are the weeds that are in the garden. And if you've ever had a garden, you know that the weeds, when you pull them, they're coming back. So improvement in our world is moving from time spent doing not value-added work, basically spending time on weeds, to having more and more and more of your day being spent only on something value-added. So for us, we feel that that's improvement. And in our observations over the years, organizations that get a bunch of people moving together to remove waste, you see something that I really desire, which is joy. I want it to feel like hobby. As a business owner, I know I'm getting paid. That's a byproduct. That's the gift that comes with it. But the main motivation that we have around improvement is we spend a lot of our days at work, a lot of our times, a lot of our years. I've been here now 38 years, which is kind of ridiculous. 38 years, I could spend those 38 years suffering, or I could be on an improvement journey where I get to collaborate and innovate and have joy in our work. So our reason for improvement is because it's a moral issue, not a business issue. Morally, if I own a company and I cause 200 people to feel horrible about their day, and I cause it because I allow waste to be in our system, I think I'm a pretty bad person. And so the flip of that is, I think, also okay. If we can find a way to work with a little bit more joy every day and spread that into our community, I think that I would like to be known by that. So if you have a question about this worldview, this is the case for improvement. Please don't do it to make your company more money. Who cares about the company, honestly? I don't even care about my own company to do this for that reason. But I do care about the faces that are here who are working with me and all of you. And even my former colleagues, there's a couple of them on the horn today that used to work here. I absolutely care about them. And by the way, we'll get paid. But the main reason is life's too short. And if we are in a position of authority, we have the opportunity to be a blessing or a curse every day. That's our reason for improvement. Any questions on that? You can put it in the little thing that Tucker, the chat thing. I don't know how to do that. But if you have a question or you want to push back on that, have at it. Yeah. So, and since we know that, yeah, it's great. If we know that waste is bad and causes the opposite of joy and anxiety and the diseases that come with that, then in my view, I want to create a system that automatically, constantly, vigorously, religiously gets rid of it every day. And that's what we're talking about in system, as a system, is it's connected to all things. Yeah. So I think with that, Tucker is going to give you another breakout session.
Yeah. Before we go into that, Mark, do you have anything to add around kind of the why behind improvement systems from your experience?
You kind of caught me off guard there. I think yeah, there's got to be a sense of purpose to it. And as Jeff said, if it's, just going to above, companies who really get this stand for something higher, and achieving that higher purpose more effectively is generally what they're after. Our benchmark often is Toyota. Toyota is about creating mobility and creating to society by creating mobility. And the idea of shareholder value is like 6th or 7th on the list of things that are important to them. And so I just sent a link in the chat to a guy named Richard Sheridan. He's the co-founder of a software development company called Menlo Innovations. What they stand for, this is their mission statement: to end human suffering as relates to technology. And they live that every day. They make good software, but they also only work 8 hours a day. They don't work weekends. They don't do overtime, and they deliver everything on time. They create a joyous place to work, and they work really hard to maintain that. And they're very good at what they do. So part of it is what you stand for. And I think I'll just shut up there.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's yeah. And if those of you who don't know who Rich Sheridan is and Menlo and Joy Inc., we highly recommend. We don't read necessarily like all the books on lean and all these concepts, and their book isn't even really about lean, but that is one that we would wholeheartedly embrace and just say go read that one. Pretty quick. It's written pretty well and kind of like in a fun narrative kind of way. So highly recommend that.
I'll just tell you everything in that book is true because I
was just about to
out
add
there
that
for days.
Yeah, I was about to add that, and it's true, which is really different than a lot of the other books I read. So
that is true
for sure.
Yeah, that is a good point. Okay, so the next breakout session I'm going to put in the chat right now. Reflect on your current improvement system if you have one. Some of you may not have one. First of all, I'm sorry that that's hard to hear, but also it still applies. What is one thing that works well? Yeah, go ahead.
Reflect on how your organization goes about solving problems, because that's really what your improvement system is about.
Yeah.
What gives it direction and how do you go about it?
That's a good clarification. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, well, one thing works well about that problem solving system, and one obstacle in the way of it performing better. We can always improve the improvement system. Very meta, I know. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and shove you back into the same rooms. And there's 4 people I'm gonna, that will be newcomers. So if you get a newcomer, just welcome them in. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a good conversation with your new friends. What I'd like you guys to do is, what we'd like you to do is in the chat again, kind of maybe list out some the obstacle that you talked about. I think it's really important to kind of share in the pain a little bit of kind of what are those barriers that are getting in the way from improvement, problem solving within your organization. And that'd be kind of cool to share. Of course, if your boss is on the call, maybe direct message to me. So, at least you can share it with me. Yeah, that'd be cool. And then I'll share out a few. Mike, obstacle not invented here. Nice. User buy-in is one, lack of buy-in. Okay. That's a pretty common one that we see. Tactics before strategy. Nice. Oh, it's David, of course, yes. Obstacles, firefighting mindset. Not everyone sees the waste. Really good, Tim. That's a really good. That's why we actually, our model for this whole thing is head, heart, hands, right? Which is like, let's start with the head knowledge. Let's get people to understand and be able to see it first. Really cool. Yeah, so keep going through and posting those if you'd like. What we're going to do is we're going to open this up for some Q&R time, question response. We just call it Q&A. That's pretty much the common way of saying it, but we've switched it to Q&R because we don't necessarily have the answer or the answers or whatever. But we do have some thoughts and some responses through our experience, through our lived experience. Jeff and I are snow skiers, as well as Mark, actually. I don't know if Oz has spent much time on the slopes, but what, for us, like when we're skiing down, we might get into trees, and so likewise with us, if you're skiing with us or if you're listening to us in our stories, we've done a lot of things wrong. We've hit a lot of trees, and our job is to kind of speak to that so that you understand, like, these are the trees we've hit, don't hit those. They're immovable objects. So cool. So the way this works is if someone has the courage to speak in front of 60 plus people, you can unmute and speak. Otherwise, you can chat directly to me or to the group, and I will I will ask the question to Jeff and Mark. And yeah, who wants to go first?
Stunned into silence.
I know.
I'll go.
Go for Garth.
So I was wondering, as a leader, what do you have to let go of in order to let others take on some of this work?
Well, you just went to the big question. Holy cow, you couldn't start with a little easy one? My goodness. Yeah. Well, it depends on the person and the context. Your field, your starting place will be different than ours, of course. So if you're a super prideful person and like to be in control of everything and pretend like you're just, awesome at everything, you'll have to let go of something different than the farmer who knows that she doesn't grow the corn, she plants and stirs the dirt. So it really depends on the context. What I can say is I can let go from my perspective of the toil and the guilt and the shame that I have by leading a company that is missing the mark. So the more that I define the criterion for improvement. So we've actually put in writing, we believe that the 7 wastes, that they represent sin in the business. They are the weeds in the garden. Please remove those. So what I have to let go of, I think, is the thought that I can plan every outcome in my company and actually just focus in on, hey, where are the laws of nature that I need to know about? What can I learn about those? Which of those laws of nature apply to my work? I don't need to know the chemistry of the seeds in actual soil, but it probably is a law of nature, but I do need to know a lot about human nature. And then I can make plans, and then every day I can take actions, and I'm, lucky if I do 51% in the direction that matters. So we talk a lot about controlling a business, and I think letting go of what we think we control and moving it upward to, hey, let's control the principles that we're going to live to, and let's control the systems that we embrace, but let's let go of the outcomes. None of us planned for COVID this year. And if you did, I doubt you planned it exactly right, or you'd be a really rich person and you wouldn't be stuck with me today. So yeah, does that answer your question? It's a great question. It's not an easy one to answer.
Yeah, it does. And I think, again, my tendency is to want to control the outcomes. And so I think figuring out how do I let go of that, and like you said, focus on the principles and be thinking at a higher level.
Really great. So I think what you'll hear, and you'll hear later in the series, so we'll talk a bit about Kaizen, and we'll talk about kata, and it's actually baking into the process controls to reduce the variation of the things that come out of whatever process that is. And it doesn't have to only be manufacturing or your work itself. It could even be in the way that, like for Tuck and I, we're always trying to figure out a new way to do something silly on skis. So if you focus on the process, when the outcome comes, you can celebrate it and take credit for the work you did on the process, but not really so much on how much corn that was harvested or didn't harvest. So an example of that right now is my company will probably lose somewhere between, please don't tell everybody, oh, that'll be recorded. That's awesome. Great, it'll be in the public domain. Should I feel bad that I'm a dumb business person because our company's losing a bunch of money, where over a period of 20 years, we've created a wealth, not just financially? I can't control the outcomes, but I can have influence over the things that we care about, the things that we're doing, and the lives we're impacting by our effort. So does that make sense? It's just, if I'm only based on the profit of the company, I would have a very horrible existence. Very good. Any other questions?
Yeah, on the topic of COVID, a lot of what is the principles or the beliefs behind continuous improvement are based on being together and being where the work happens. Obviously, we can't do that, and we're a lot more digital than we would probably like to be practicing some of this. So how, what tools have you developed that have been working and helped you see problems before they happen, see how work maybe has been impacted?
Yeah, this is great. So right now we're doing it. So I think our friend Beast might be in LA. I know Rochelle's in her home near us, and I know some of you are nowhere near here. So just this work together, we used to have you in our factory to collaborate like this. And I think many of you are in different time zones, different countries. So There are some gifts that are coming with COVID. We used to think in terms of, okay, we can do 3 waste tours a week, maybe 50 weeks a year, and we can like serve, 2,500 people a year, whatever that number adds up to be. We're actually rolling out a subscription model, a membership model that says anybody in the world can attend a waste tour now. We'll just do it every 2 weeks, and we'll see. So in some ways, we've been massively blessed by this breakthrough in technology. When everybody knew me before as the weird guy who won't talk on the phone with you. So if somebody wanted to talk to me and they wouldn't FaceTime, I'd be like, I have a middle finger, it's about to come up, I don't want to use it to you, that's really not very nice. But I was only FaceTime only because I know I was always being misunderstood, only using voice. So now that the world has given us this, everybody knows how to Zoom thing, even the grandmas are doing it. So that's a gift. I do believe that when we can have more people in the factory, I might become a hugger, like that weird guy who has to hug, and I'll probably have to be like, in lawsuits and stuff, because I miss people, I miss the connection. So I think we should really look at that. Okay, big changes in technology or big changes in society. What are the opportunities that affords? And so for us, the cameras become more valuable. We were doing huddles in our own business physically for a while. We can do it virtually, and now I can be on the top of a mountain or in a boat or in another country and still spend time with my friends. Like, I can't believe I can spend time with these today and some of the other faces I see, former colleagues. Like, what the heck? How does that even happen? So I think a lot of people tend to look at the loss that's associated with this. And what we found is just the opposite. There's a whole bunch of gains for us. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Just to chime in on a little bit on that is, one of the things that I asking people to think about is, as things return to a state that we've never been in, because it won't go back, what of these things that we do are you going to keep doing? Because they provide value. And I know, again, my friend Rich at Menlo, they went from working in one big room to working in programming pairs on Zoom all day. And there are some aspects of that they intend to keep because it's actually working better for them. And one of them is they're starting to hire, and you don't have to live in Ann Arbor, which is kind of, they've never considered that before. So now they have this ability to bring that joy to a wider group of people.
That's a good add. And just to clarify, if Jeff actually becomes a hugger, that is a big gap to close. So for those of you who don't know, that's a big difference there. A really good question here from Jordan. I think it would be good for Mark to speak into, which is, how do you grow change management within all levels of the business? It's something that I know that Kata, when we get deeper into that, that's definitely part of it, the answer that Mark would probably give. But yeah, Mark, how do we connect all layers of the business besides just the in the field front lines, or the pockets of management?
That's, so it sounds, Jordan, like you're an internal change agent, which is a pretty common situation. And so some of the guidelines I'd like to give to internal change agents is what you can, where you can, and focus on where you're being successful rather than beating your head on the wall where you're encountering resistance. If you can create pockets of humans working together with good connection, it's about building structures that support working relationships where people are focused, standing virtually or literally shoulder to shoulder looking at a problem rather than facing each other. So that's kind of a philosophical answer. There's not a, the how-to is you have to start where you are. So there isn't really a formula for answering that question. But I think part of it is letting go of the idea that everybody needs to be on board right away, and focus your attention on the people who are pulling on you rather than the people who are pushing you away.
I have an add to that, which is we have seen some success at getting org change to occur when we think in terms of pull versus push. So a lot of times CI leaders in corporations are pushed upon another team. And that's a real crappy situation to be, is I'm here to fix you and the boss doesn't know what you do, but I got to fix you. Part of the reason that we put out, that we're trying to put this out as a resource to the wider community is we're recording this so that you can say, hey, friends, you didn't get to come hang out, so it's available. Want to watch it together. You know who we are, so you can always say, hey, Jeff has offered to meet with any leadership team who wants to decide if this is something they should know more about. So just know that since you're willing to show up live, if you want to get your leaders to give me a call, I'll always say yes. The answer will never be no. So we're trying to put resources out so you can say, look, this might be true. This might be something that is actually useful to us. Would you be willing to learn with me? So try to create pull with the ideas you have. Our ministry or our work is really, I'm too old to really focus on the trying to change from the middle. I really want to focus on helping leaders who have been given this opportunity to create, sustainable change and goodness. I think my ministry going forward is really to help leaders go. It's just the head. It's just super stupid easy. Like the tools are just straightforward. The adaptive leadership, that's the hard part. The heart, do you give a damn? Yes or no? Be honest. Are you willing to take the risk? And then the next part is the hands. So if we can be useful to you, any of you, in helping an organization and helping leaders have an opportunity to just say, hey, poke holes in this. We're not selling anything, right? So it's just, it actually works every time, but you have to cooperate with gravity. So we can be a resource is the bottom line on that. So
that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Next question.
Well, we have one in the chat, a 30-second pitch.
Yeah.
To sell this.
Go for it.
And so service industry is exactly the same. And I guess the question I would ask is, what is the insanely great experience you want your customers to have? And what do you have to do to create that experience? And at the end of that, then if you have to work really hard to create that insanely great experience, how can we do it easily and naturally? And that is the outcome of having a continuous improvement process. And it's the same thing in healthcare. In healthcare, what is an insanely great patient experience? Healthcare gets rated on this, and I see a lot of people trying to push directly on these surveys that patients get, but you got to back up and say, okay, what experience would a patient have that would have them give us all 5s on this survey?
yeah, and when you want to get to the how part of that, when we get to the kata training, so in the series 3, 4, and 5, we'll for sure talk a little bit very specifically about the methods that can be used to get there. I love the idea of starting with the experience, though. What is something we'll be proud of? I don't think we should be that any human being should settle for a 3-year or a 5-year vision that isn't really exceptionally awesome. Like it should be something where like, yes, it would be so great to do that. Like I'd like to be part of that, and that will create pull to the future, pull to the hard work ahead. So yeah, that's a great ad, Mark. Yeah,
that's good.
And the visual management, the DMS, the improvement systems are just merely tools to get you to something awesome. Yeah.
Good. Beast put in a question into the chat. Do we use at Kaas, Jeff, DMS or another forum for team members at all levels to pitch new innovations or create crazy ideas? How does that get shared?
Well, that's really great. So we have 2 systems at Kaas, Kaizen and Kata, and of course the huddles. We have help share. Hey, what do we appreciate? What are we doing every day? So and I'd be happy to have you join in one of our huddles so you could just experience it. But really, what we really don't want to do is have people saying, oh, I have a great idea, you should do this. We want them to actually either be aiming at an experience to say, wouldn't it be awesome if we could create this experience for our customers? So this whole subscription model came with, what if we could reach the whole world with what we know and do this every week for the rest of our lives? that was the vision that really got this idea of the membership model going. And now we're really close to actually making that offer. So yeah, but you're welcome just to join in everything. Yeah, so you can just talk to Tucker and he'll get you signed in. Is that cool? Man, Uncle Tim's here too. Unbelievable. Okay, Tuck, sorry.
You're good. We should actually, for your camera, only like have it just be you and I, so you don't get distracted by all the people that are your friends. It's good. Any other further questions? I think we have probably time for one more, maybe two.
This is Terry Callahan, by the way.
Terry.
Hi, Mark.
Terry and I worked together at Kodak, so I just want to.
Yes, long time ago.
Yeah.
Good to see you again. In our breakout room, we talked about the importance of employee engagement as a key element of any quality improvement system. In my old company, we had tried a program whereby we would actually recognize individuals for seeing something and then doing something about it, seeing an opportunity to improve a customer experience and then taking it upon themselves to actually affect the change to drive that improvement. And we actually gave them a small, tangible recognition in response to that. And they felt proud about that and they felt good about it. But there was a small pocket of leadership, very senior leadership in the company, that discouraged us from doing that. And actually, we terminated the program. And kind of the mantra was, well, that should be part of their job. Seeing opportunities, driving improvement, that's what they should be paid to do. And to give any kind of formal recognition on top of that just didn't make sense to them. So I'm just curious, your philosophy on employee recognition in that way. Is there a time and a place for it, or is there not? I'll just leave it at that.
That's so sad because they all got bonuses, but doing that is part of their job. So what's the bonus for?
Yeah, wow. So I would say that we have a real clear call in the world right now is we can probably say that the world needs more love and respect. Can everybody kind of agree that the world might be a little bit better if we all felt a little more love and respect? Reasonable? So when somebody does an improvement here and does a Kaizen as a token of appreciation, I think we give them a half hour of paid time off. Is that right, Tucker? Yeah. So we didn't used to do that, but and if they do a Kaizen at home in their garage, I'm actually more happy. I just want them to be thinking through it, but it really is a token. It's not really real. Where I really see the greatest value is when we're doing tours and my colleagues get to shine and be asked questions of smart people from around the world. The reason that I really started involving more people on our tours is so that somebody else could praise them in a way that they could not like second guess or doubt. It's literally the kid whistling at my wife. It's like, okay, you're pretty today because some teenager liked my car. It's not really you. Of course, I don't say that, but so it's having that outside person doing it. But I think there's a question of incentives, right? So we really want people to be morally motivated to say, oh man, this stuff, it sucks. It hurts me. This waste stuff, I feel it myself. I don't want to hurt anymore. I don't want to hurt my colleagues. I don't want to hurt my whatever else they care about. I want them to make their own decision about what they care about. And I want them to be honest. I want them to say, I hate all this crap. I'm not doing any improvement. And we have some people like that. And I'm morally thrilled when somebody says, I actually have a black heart and I don't give a damn about you. The people that fake it that really drive me crazy. So we really want to drive the motivation into the heart to say, do you care? Do you want to cooperate with gravity? We're a place that will prosper you and grow you. But we're not very good at the I would say individual rewards, partly because almost all the improvements are a collective effort. And so we haven't really found a way to tie that together. But I think it's a shame to remove any form of love or recognition that you can give in a context of work.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. So it's 11:55. We have like 5 minutes left. I'd like to kind of throw the microphone over to Mark for any closing thoughts, observations, closing thoughts.
I just, one of the things that I've learned, and probably more recently than I should have, is that, this is about putting in, and this is a lot of it from my experience with Menlo Innovations and Rich Sheridan. And then looking back at everything I've been doing for the last 3 decades, where it works is where the structures in place that are what create and guide what people talk about and how they talk about it are supporting the building of working relationships. And that's really, at the end of the day, if that's what it's about. And well, what's the ROI? Well, what's the ROI on having awesome teamwork? You really can't put a number on it. You just know that things are better, but it's things that are better that you can't really predict. It's that somebody, so I'm in an airport, my flight was canceled. It was awesome customer service. But I wasn't sure how to get into the tunnel in Atlanta to get to the hotel. And I saw a Delta employee and I walked up to her and I asked, and she had just clocked out. She's off the clock. And she didn't say, oh, go see this agent over there, so they'll be happy to help you. She took the time off the clock to show me to the door I needed to go down. So that's a company that people give the extra effort to, and just help their customers have a good experience. That's, the opposite of that is one of their major competitors, where an agent overheard the passengers cheering at a gate, and she went to see what they were cheering about, and it had just come across the news that this airline CEO had been fired. Think about that. Your customers cheer when your CEO is fired. So what's the difference in the cultures of those two organizations? One is they foster teamwork and they foster working together, even if it isn't your job. And the other is do what you're told. Damn it. And so how can I create environments where people know what's going on, can see what's going on, and a structure that encourages them to work together to act on it in some way? At the end of the day, that's all the andon is at a Toyota assembly line. That's all 5S is for. That's all of these tools are designed to do.
That's really good. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that gift. So we're at the end of our time. So thank you so much, all of you, for coming. Thank you, Mark, for joining us in on this fun as our first. Actually, no, it's not our first guest. It's the first guest that spent the whole time with us, I guess. Please join us for a deeper dive of Kaizen. We're going to be going into our original kind of improvement system and problem-solving tool that we kind of developed a few years ago, more than a few years ago. And if you want to join us for a tour, we are booking those in person or virtually. So we're kind of just at the mercy of the state on that one. And so, yeah, thank you for coming, and I hope to see you in a few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody. It's good to see you. Holy cow.
Hey, Tom. Nice to see you.
Hey, Mark.